generation away from extinction. These aircraft, all of them, are about 70 years old. They've been painstakingly restored. Not for mere entertainment, but they are amazing to see and hear, but they're symbols of the sacrifice that the members of the greatest generation made so that we can be free. The 6 aircraft, a B-25 Mitchell bomber, a Curtiss P-40K, a Grumman-designed General Motors built CBM, a North American P-51, and a chance-bought designed Goodyear-built FG-1D Corsair. A representation of the more than 275,000 aircraft that were produced in the United States during World War II, 10,000 horsepower. Another fighter with that group is a real Japanese Mitsubishi A6M0, not a replica. It's the exact kind of airplane that the Japanese used on the attack of Pearl Harbor and we heard of. Bore-sighted for the pilot and 2 20mm cannons in the wings. Right now, the B-25 Mitchell bomber has turned away to try to get away from the 350-mile-per-hour top speed of the Japanese Zero. It was able to outmaneuver anything the Allies had at the beginning of World War II. Amazingly, a Zero was actually recovered after a crash landing in the Aleutian Islands and was brought back and flight tested, and the Zero's shortcomings were discovered, and American fighter pilots eventually learned to take advantage of those flaws. But right now, diving in from the right, the B-25 Mitchell bomber, Betty's dream with a 275-mile-an-hour top speed, being chased by the Japanese Zero with its potent cannons and machine guns. The Japanese Zero, though, does have to watch out because there are handfuls. The B-25 runs away, but still in hot pursuit, the Japanese Zero. Among the flaws and shortcomings of the Japanese Zero were these. It did not have self-sealing fuel tanks, so if it took a hit in the fuel tanks, it would lose fuel very quickly. It had very little armor for the pilot, and that enabled the aircraft to be so nimble and quick. It was very light, but at over 250 miles per hour, it would be very heavy on the controls, and it would really have a difficult time pulling to the right because the pilot would have no fuel. The Japanese Zero knows he's there and does a quick loop to dive down and get on the 6 on the tail of the B-40 Warhawk. Watch the speeds here as this 1,130 horsepower Nakajima 9-cylinder radial engine is put to the test to catch up with that B-40 Warhawk. That aircraft had a V-12 liquid-cooled Allison engine generating some 1,400 horsepower. It has chased It is being chased still by a high-diving attack, and now has decided to run away to fight another day. The Japanese Zero pilot is feeling good. He'll come down low and then he'll pitch up and do a couple of victory rolls because he has scored a hit on a B-25 bomber. And it has chased away a B-40 Warhawk. Was a surprise to American military planners. They didn't think the Japanese could do that. But the other thing the Japanese Zero had problems with was a float-type carburetor. It would quit when the engine got into negative G. So even though it was very fast and very nimble, it did have some flaws. And the Japanese Zero, after realizing case of this particular aircraft, the chance bought Corsair, the FG-1D, the bent wing bird. Danny will tell you a lot more about that later. But the folks at Goodyear had been enlisted by the government to build parts for almost 26 airplanes during the war because they, in building their airships, understood just how much metal was necessary to maintain maximum strength without adding dead weight. And when Chance Vaught needed more Corsairs, Goodyear took to the sky. The Japanese Zero now jinking. He is in the sights of this much faster Corsair. We have guns on the bandit on this one. The Japanese Zero the two 20mm cannons are no match for the speed at which the Corsair can dive, can climb. This aircraft, the Japanese Zero, is by both the airplane and the pilot who understood now what the tactics were. That's to get high and dive in and do it quickly. The Corsair's name of this one is called Whistling Death. It was because of the sound that the Corsair made when it was in a dive, a low-level attack. 12,571 or so Corsairs were built. I looked at Danny Chris and we giggle about that because the numbers are always different. The 4-point hesitation roll of the bent-wing bird. That bent-wing bird was that way specifically because they needed to get a landing gear that would be short enough yet strong enough to absorb those controlled crashes on the deck of the carriers. So the Chance Vaught designers bent the wing down, extended the landing gear from the lowest point so the 13-foot in diameter propeller would not be slicing up the decks of the wooden aircraft. The Japanese Zero was a technological marvel. And as Danny Chisholm told you, they got into the war because they had the Jap Zero. However, what they did not do was to continue to push the technological envelope to build faster, newer, more potent aircraft to deal with the threat. They put Americans to work, ladies and gentlemen, and we produced, as I mentioned, 275,000 aircraft. Another of those that was built for us was the TBM Avenger.